What is up, YouTube? We are here with Alex Carmenaty for our Week 13 NFL predictions. It's not the most exciting week, but there's a ton of games with some big playoff implications for some teams. So let's get right into the video, guys. I hope you guys enjoy. Okay, so Alex, the first game I want to get into is Thursday Night Football, Seahawks in Dallas against the Cowboys. What do you got on this one?
Well, look, Jay, I mean, with the way Seattle's played the past couple of games, Dallas is the favorite going in for sure. And we saw the Cowboys beat up on Washington on Thursday. And the Cowboys, whether on the road or at home, they've been really, really dominant.
Yeah,
Seattle has really fallen back. The tough loss at home to San Francisco. And before that, you lose that second game to the Rams. You got season swept to a team that could be coming after your postseason spot right now in the wild card race. Seattle's, their schedule is not getting easier. And now that they have to go to Dallas with the Cowboys coming off this dominant 35-point win to Washington last Thursday, I think Dallas is the clear favorite here. And say
yeah,
what you want about Dak, Dak Prescott and this team and the teams they played. Oh, they beat up on the Giants and the Commanders and the Panthers and some of these teams that aren't really good.
yeah,
You got to give credit where credit's due when with how productive the offense has
yep.
been, no matter who they've been playing so far this year. So Dallas's offense is going to steamroll Seattle, number one, and we see the struggles the Seahawks have had on the offensive side. Geno Smith has really regressed this year.
He looks like
Kenneth
his old
Walker
self. Yeah,
he does. Kenneth Walker being out last week even hurt them even more. Who knows what his status could be if he plays the full game, if he plays at 100%, or if he doesn't play at all.
yeah,
Who knows what's going to happen in that category? And at the same time, with Gino doing so bad, the passing game is really, really receding.
yeah.
And we look at these competitive playoff teams like a Baltimore, like a San Francisco. They've been blown out by double digits, and Baltimore hosted Seattle, and the Ravens won by 34 points. So
Yeah.
with Dallas playing so good recently, at home especially, and with Seattle continuing to struggle and slip down, you got to go with the Cowboys in the blink of an eye.
I'm going to take the Cowboys as well. Dak has looked really impressive lately. Pollard's doing a little better. CeeDee Lamb's been good. Brandon Cooks has been incredible for Dallas. The defense has been good. Just overall, there's nothing really clicking these last couple weeks for the Seattle team. Ever since they briefly had first place in the division, it's just fallen apart for them.
Well,
Um,
it's that, but it's also the fact that San Fran has waken up after that three-game losing streak. They're back on their, rightful path. And the LA Rams, even with Matthew Stafford out before, with him now back, they're looking pretty good right now.
yeah,
And yet they beat up on the Cardinals, but that win puts them a game back of a playoff spot. Same thing with the Green Bay
yeah,
Packers. The fact that Minnesota and Seattle are barely holding on to their playoff spots, and you got the Packers and the Rams right behind them, tells you about how crucial this week is for all four teams involved.
yes,
But if Seattle starts off with another loss to the Dallas Cowboys, who are going to be a wild
yeah,
card team no matter what, because Philly's going to win that division and probably be the number one seed. For Dallas, this is just stocking up more on, being the team that you're trying to be. And the Cowboys, if they're that fifth wild card, which they should be, they're going to have to play the winner of the crummy NFC South.
yeah,
So for Dallas, this is just more preparation to not just get past the first round, but to build their value even more when they have to play either Philadelphia, San Francisco,
yeah.
Detroit, whoever you want to name in that divisional round when they most likely get there.
Yeah. Right now the Seahawks and Vikings are opening up doors for teams behind them, like you just said, the Rams, the Packers. And while the odds of it are slim to none of them getting it, even the Giants, who are now 2 games out of that mix. So look, it's the NFL. On paper, you would look at, some team schedules, you like they'll lose this game, they'll lose this one. But there's a reason they play those games. The Eagles have lost games to the Jets. Anything could happen. So you never know. The Giants could even pull something out. And really, like I said, the Seahawks are opening that door for other teams right now. But I think the Cowboys, I think they take this by a pretty wide margin, actually. I don't really think this is much of like a close game. I really think the Seahawks struggle in this one.
Well, look, I mean, we said it before. They got blown out to Baltimore. They got blown out at home last Thursday against the 49ers. If they're playing so bad against these playoff teams, Why won't that happen again this week against
Yeah.
another playoff team in the Cowboys?
Yes, completely agree. We move into the first 1 o'clock game, though. I think it's a game that we really don't need to spend too much time on. It's going to be a absolute just brutal game for the Commanders. We got the Dolphins in Washington. What do you got on this?
Unless if FedEx Field just rips apart and part of the stands fall on Tua Tagovailoa or Jalen Hurts or whoever the opposing quarterback is, if the seats don't rip apart and fans fall onto the stadium, you're going to see Miami win. I mean, that stadium is one of the worst constructed and poorly run stadiums no, it is in the National Football League. I mean, the New York City subway system looks more functional than FedEx Field. And
Yeah.
that tells you a lot right there. But whether the game's in Washington or not, Miami's going to have a field day. And this Dolphins team coming off a big win against a joke of a team like the Jets. The Commanders haven't won a game in a couple weeks now.
Yeah.
Sam Howell leads the league in passing yards, but can't do anything with this incompetent offense. He's throwing a pick almost every game.
Yeah.
And in general, I mean, this Commanders team is a mess everywhere. When the offense struggles and they can't keep up, the defense is even worse, and they're sucked out the drop.
Yeah.
I mean, I watched that game versus Dallas, and this defense, I mean, they were just 5 times behind the play of a really good Dallas Cowboys offense. With
Yeah.
Miami's offense also being really good, with Tua and Tyreek Hill being so fast, and with the run game for the Dolphins being such a strong suit all year long, Miami's going to run away with this game.
Oh,
And
100%.
honestly, don't be shocked if Sam Howell throws a pick six or maybe 2 pick sixes to a guy like Jalen Ramsey or Phillips or, whoever else you want to name. So this is going to be a really, really ugly game for Washington, and they're going to get embarrassed again at home. And they've been embarrassed multiple times already at home.
Yeah.
Heck, they just lost to the New York Giants by double digits in their own
And
building.
that's what I was about to say. They made and yes, the Giants defense throughout the season has improved, but they made the Giants defense look elite when they played them, which is not a good sign. I wouldn't be surprised if the Dolphins put up 40 in this game. I really wouldn't. Look, I could see there being a pick six. I don't really think it's so much of the Commanders' defense. I think it's just how good the Dolphins are and the lack of offense from the Commanders. I could totally see it being like a 40 to like 17 game, to be totally honest with you.
Honestly, Jason, I mean that's kind of generous. I mean, this team lost 45-10 last week, and let's not forget that. And again, earlier in the year, but they lost 37-3 against Buffalo. They lost 40-20 against the Chicago Bears, and again, they lost by double digits again to the New York Giants. So 17 might be generous enough
and
for how bad this Commanders team is.
If you could give up 40 to the Bears, you could give up 40 to anybody.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Especially after seeing yesterday's Bears game. I just overall, I think Tyreek has a monster day for them. I think Mosa just runs all over the Commanders, and I think they just utterly dominate this game. Again, not a game we have to spend too much time on. We'll move on to a much better game that at the start of the season you wouldn't have thought was going to be very interesting. But with the current status and where both teams are heading, it's a very fun game. We got Broncos-Texans. What do you got on this one?
That's a massive game. And I mean, walking into this year, that would have been a snooze fest and a game you don't want to watch at all. And honestly, the matchup we just talked about before, going into this year, that one would have seemed more interesting than this one.
Yes.
But I'll tell you, Houston's coming off a big loss, but C.J. Stroud is still bowling out. At the same time, the Denver Broncos have just been winning game after game after game after game after game. I think they're over 500 now with how good they're playing.
Yeah, they're 6-5.
And with that in mind, Jason, I mean, this has been a rapid turnaround. And this is a big game for both the Texans and the Broncos, because the Broncos, of course, are fighting for their playoff lives. But Houston, period, is trying to make the playoffs when at this point they should be making the postseason with how good they've been. This is another toss-up. But you know what? All good things must come to an end sometime. And with the Denver Broncos, I think they're going to fall short. I think they'll drop to 6-6. And for this Houston Texans team, it's coming off a really tough 3-point loss at home last week to Jacksonville, where you were so close to season sweeping them, you fall short of that goal. They're going to want to come back with a
Yep.
vengeance. And for CJ Stroud, again, he had the off week 2 weeks ago. They still won the game. He played a great game last week, but he came up short, and his team came up short to Jacksonville. Houston is really going to roll the dice here. And honestly, with how good Stroud has been, especially against not just the AFC, but especially, in bounce back games, he really has been remarkable. So give me
Yeah.
Stroud for the bounce back. Give me the Texans, and the Broncos will finally lose a game for the first time in a while, which is crazy to think of
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
going into this year, they were losing games left and right.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with the Texans in this game. Look, Stroud's gonna want to get that back. It sucks they lost that game off a doink of the freaking upright. They could have tied it there at the end. So just overall, look, I think both teams have been playing phenomenal football. Um, but I think this Texans team might be a little too much for the Broncos.
Yeah.
Um, Look, the Broncos have been great and much better lately, but there are still signs of some issues at times. There's some things that don't look 100% great. There's some errors that, the Texans obviously too, CJ Stroud's been throwing some more picks lately, some turnovers. There's been some issues on both ends, but somehow the Broncos have been pulling out with more wins lately than the Texans, as crazy as that sounds. Um,
Well, look,
Look,
I mean,
no, sorry,
what's
say
so
what you saying.
intriguing, yeah, what's so intriguing about this Denver team is that they really should have lost their winning streak at Buffalo.
Yeah,
But the Bills weren't just such a complete disaster this year, and they didn't blow it the way they did. Denver wouldn't have won that game off the field goal. So, look, I mean, the Broncos have gotten some big breaks too in their favor. That's why they still have the big winning streak. So, look, I mean, both teams are starting to slip up a little bit. They're making some mistakes, but they're still pulling out with either successful results. But for Houston, sadly, last week, that wasn't the case. So, for the Texans, they're looking to bounce back in a big fashion. And this is the week to do it against a Broncos team that maybe has gotten fortunate in some areas, but has really been a remarkable turnaround in many others.
yeah. Look, I think this could actually be one of the better games of the week.
Oh, yeah.
I'm really looking forward to it. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes either way, to be totally honest. But I
Mm-hmm.
am gonna lean towards the Texans, and with how the offenses have been lately, this could be a decent scoring game. It really could.
Oh,
I
yeah.
get there's no reason both either of these teams should not be in at least the 20s or higher. I really think they both will. It's not going to be like the Vikings, Bears, 100% will not. I think it's just going to be a really fun game. I will lean towards the Texans as the home team as well. They got that Houston, crowd there. Um, Denver really, also thrives off their home stadium. They got an energetic crowd there. So we'll see how they do on the road, but I am gonna go Texans. We move into the next 1 o'clock game. A game that I don't think needs too much discussion because they're gonna want to bounce back after losing to you guys last week. We got Lions versus the mediocre New Orleans Saints. What do you want to say on this one?
If Detroit doesn't win this game, then you start to, ring some panic bells. You
Yeah.
start to really throw up some caution flags because, look, it's one thing that the Packers won. And I am still shocked to this day, a week later, that the Green Bay Packers were so good on Thanksgiving and Jordan Love looked like Aaron Rodgers Jr. out there. It was remarkable to see how good they played. And the Lions have had some games where they weren't pretty. Last week against Baltimore, what have you. But if you have
Yeah.
another slip up to a mediocre team or a team that's 5-6 or just below 500 or barely trying to make the postseason landscape, if you lose 2 straight weeks like that, then you're really testing the waters here.
Yeah.
And for the Lions, I think, regardless, I think they'll bounce back. Detroit has been able to bounce back in strong fashions after tough losses. Example, after losing to Baltimore, they beat up on the Raiders.
Yeah.
So Detroit is known for this year, at least, bouncing back after really crucial losses. I think they'll
Yeah.
do it again. The run game is phenomenal. Jared Goff has been kind of really not the best recently. He's committing more turnovers. He had 3 picks in that win versus Chicago, a game they barely won too, keep in mind. So Jared Goff has to work on his certain inconsistencies the past couple of
Yes.
weeks. He does that, the passing game will be just fine. The run game will lead the way. And the problem also for the Lions was penalties last week. The
Oh
amount of
yeah.
penalties they took as well was a big, big problem. So Detroit has to be more self-disciplined and not giving New Orleans any freebie chances in the red zone off penalties or any type of gift whatsoever via the flags.
Yeah.
So if they can do that, they'll win the game. I think they'll, really fix their mistakes against a really, again, mediocre Saints team, like you said. 1 week they're in first, the next week they lose. They're just out of first. They're so back and forth, and
Yeah.
and with Derek Carr being so injured throughout the year,
Yeah.
you're not sure what you're getting with the Saints.
Yes.
So Alvin Kamara can have the best game or not. The Saints are still not guaranteed to win the game.
Yeah.
But when the Lions have a complete game and the entire team is facilitating in a strong fashion on the offense, defense, and special teams, Detroit plays a full game, they win the game. I
Yeah.
think we'll see that Detroit wins.
Yes. Yeah, Lions down. I think the Lions just dominate this game. Saints have looked terrible lately. Again, they had those few weeks where their offense was getting rolling again, but that's quickly faded away. Story of Derek Carr's career.
Mm-hmm.
The most all over the place quarterback I've ever seen. Might be worse than Baker Mayfield with that, to be totally honest with you.
I don't know if I go that far. I mean, look, sure, Derek Carr's been injured and he's not been healthy consistently, but I think we look at talent. Derek Carr is obviously more talented than Baker Mayfield. That's
Yes.
number one. He's a better quarterback than Baker Mayfield. And number two, this is only Derek Carr's second team. A lot of the, Carr issues, if you want to put it that way, in Vegas, Oakland, whatever you want to call it, a lot of it wasn't really him.
It was
Now,
the
part of
team,
it
yeah.
was, well, yeah, look. Part of it was the injuries and the fact that he couldn't stay healthy consistently. But when he was healthy, he was playing great.
Yeah.
Problem is that he had John Gruden. He had some other boneheaded coaches. He had Josh McDaniels, who also didn't help his cause either.
Yeah.
And at the same time, the Raiders were just so dysfunctional with Derek Carr. So most of it wasn't Derek Carr's fault. It was the powers that be ahead of Derek Carr that didn't give him a fair fighting
No,
chance.
you're right.
Now in New Orleans, it's sort of the same thing, but it's Carr being injured again, and this injury bug playing a real factor on this tenure so far with New
Yeah.
Orleans. The
Yeah.
difference with Baker Mayfield is that Baker Mayfield is just incompetent. And
Yes.
whether it's Cleveland, Carolina, he wasn't bad with the Rams, but still not great. And now with the Buccaneers, he's really starting to come back to his true Baker self. He's just incompetent. He can't do anything right. And when he shows these glimmers of hope, he then goes back to his normal self, disappoints the fan base and becomes the Baker of old, where he really is just, a shell of what he really is.
Yeah.
He's not really good. So Baker Mayfield is just beyond
True.
inconsistent and incompetent.
True.
Derek Carr is good. Derek Carr can't stay healthy, but he's good. And a lot of the problems are in Derek Carr and the people around Derek Carr.
No,
so
you're
I
right.
would disagree with that.
No, you're right. Okay. Look, I think Lions win this game. The one thing I will say for the Saints, and what a disaster of a signing. He's done nothing. Jamal Williams has done nothing there in New Orleans. It has been a mess with him. But yeah, Lions win this game. St. Brown has a big day. Laporta has a big day. Montgomery Gibbs. I think Goff, this has to be a get-right game for him after a couple really ugly ones. So I think the Lions do it and they win this game. We move into a really ugly game, though. We got the Atlanta Falcons versus the New York Jets. What do you got here?
Well, we have Desmond Ridder, Taylor Heineke, or Mickey Mouse as quarterback. We're not sure who. And then for the New York Jets, we have the wonderful Tim Boyle, who throws a pick six on a Hail Mary attempt. So you're going to see.
The Hail Mary?
Yeah, right. Exactly. The Hail Mary. More like a Bloody Mary. I mean, this is just an absolute disaster. I don't know who's going to win this game. I really don't, because Atlanta every week is either good or bad. They're honestly bipolar. And for the New York Jets, I think all hope is lost with Tim Boyle. You saw what happened last week. So, look, I mean, you want to say Atlanta because they have more of a competent quarterback, but part of me is not wouldn't be surprised if the Jets somehow won this game
Off
off
defense.
defense
Yeah, yeah,
alone.
yeah.
And also not just defense, just the pure badness of the Falcons. So this is this is an ugly game.
Yeah.
And this is one of those games where, I mean, you say it a lot, you're better off just putting on the red zone. I
Mm.
mean, I'm better off just sitting on my toilet having diarrhea for 3 hours than watching this game. That's how bad this matchup is. So I mean, I really can't choose a team confidently, but for the sake of the segment and for the sake of the pick, I'll go with the Falcons, but with not 100% confidence in that pick.
I'm gonna sit here and say I'm going with the Falcons as well. But I can't really give you this is a game I can't really give you a solid reason why. I don't really know. I really don't know which team could win this game. I think it's two really, really bad teams. It's also hard to make a prediction when we don't even know which quarterback the team's going with. Um,
Well, that, and also the fact that when you have a crummy Falcons team that's trying to fight for a playoff spot, and a New York Jets team whose quarterback now is Tim Boyle. I mean, you can choose the Rutgers Scarlet Knights basically at this point
yeah,
over the Jets, or you can choose the Massapequa High School football Chiefs who just won the Long Island Championship
yeah,
to beat the New York Jets.
yes. The one thing I will say before we move on to a different game is if the Jets don't win this, their season's done.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
We move on to another game which look, it might not be a pretty game, but it got a little better with the Canada Fire, and then the Steelers offense looked a little more competent last week. We got the Cardinals, Steelers. What do you got on this one?
If Pittsburgh doesn't win this game, I mean they prove again why they're the ultimate fraudulent plus 500 team
Yeah.
because they blew it to the Browns in Cleveland. And if they lose to the Arizona Cardinals this week, I mean, there is more reason why you should not make the playoffs. I mean, there is 1,001 reasons why the 2023 Pittsburgh Steelers should not make the playoffs.
Them.
If they lose this game, it goes to 1,002. So, look, sure, this team has gotten better on the offense, and the defense has improved, in some facets this year. But this is a game where the Steelers have no excuse if they lose.
Yeah.
The problem is that their quarterback is Kenny Pickett. And Kenny Pickett is obviously not a good quarterback, which is
Yeah.
sad to see for the
Man.
Pittsburgh Steelers. And if you look at the Arizona Cardinals, yes, they stink, and yes, they've been getting blown out. Kyler Murray's playing pretty good.
Oh yeah,
He's playing
100%.
pretty good right now after the ACL injury. And with Kyler Murray playing good and even winning a game this year with the Arizona Cardinals, that tells you a lot about what could possibly happen. So I'll give Pittsburgh the benefit of the doubt. I'll go with the Steelers. But honestly, if Kyler Murray goes off and Pittsburgh's Kenny Pickett and this offense can't match it for whatever reason, then Arizona's somehow going to win this game. I just don't see it happening, but I wouldn't be surprised if it does happen at the same time.
Yeah. I'm gonna take the Steelers in what I think is gonna be a pretty ugly game. I really, and we've said it before many times on this show. Steelers, whether they win, lose, their games are never pretty.
No.
They are really, really ugly games. A lot of botches, just mistakes. And look, it doesn't help that now you throw in the Cardinals against them. So, look, I will say, Kyler Murray has been good for what he's being given. Considering the situation he's in, his real only elite player, in my opinion, is James Conner. Yes, McBride is stepping up as a tight end a little bit, but that's really it. Steelers, just, look, the bright spot for the Steelers has been Jaylen Warren. That kid has been incredible. He was a great I believe he's a second-year player, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's that's a guy that against this Cardinals team, he could have a really big week. I have a weird feeling he does. I see him getting one or two touchdowns. They need to, if they really want to try to get guys going, you need to get a Pickens and Deontay Johnson touchdown this week too.
Well, look, I mean, again, this is a no excuse game for the Steelers. And again, they do not deserve to be a playoff team. But if they're going to fight for their right to be in the postseason, these games that you must win and you can't lose.
Yeah.
And if you lose, there's no excuse for it. And for a team like the Cardinals, who are rebuilding, who are really down in the dumps, and Kyler Murray's playing good right now and he's back, but who knows if he's truly going to be there long term.
Yeah.
Honestly, with Kyler Murray now healthy and playing good, I wouldn't be shocked if he eventually, demands a trade in general, because there's been some, some breakup or some flustering between Murray and the Cardinals' relationship the past couple of years. But at the same time, a team, maybe the Giants, the Jets, whoever you want to, whatever team you want to name, teams that are looking for a serviceable quarterback
Yeah.
could be calling the Arizona Cardinals for a trade, saying, hey, we would like Kyler Murray to join our team. So this is really a good way for Kyler Murray to show what he's about. And honestly, if Kyler Murray has a good game versus the Steelers, Kyler Murray could be the next quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers next season.
And a team like Tampa Bay could even be looking at him. It's how everything's went lately with Baker Mayfield. So
right,
you just never know. But yeah, Steelers win this. I don't think it's going to be a high scoring game. I think it's just going to be really iffy. Just like any other Steelers game. We're just used to it at this point.
Yep.
But we move into a game that is a huge game for the Indianapolis Colts, a division game. We got the Colts versus Titans. Colts are actually in a playoff spot right now. So what do you got on this one? Gardner Minshew has them in a playoff spot.
They are in a playoff spot, and they played a great game at home, and they gave Tampa Bay a run for the money, and they beat them. And this week, you can't lose. This is sort of similar to Pittsburgh. Now, I think the Colts are a little more deserving than Pittsburgh. Now, again, they've had some bad losses here and there, but at least the Colts are
they've had some heartbreakers.
Yes, they've had some tough losses this year. But the thing between them and Pittsburgh is that the Colts are playing a full 60-minute, even more than 60-minute game every game this year. And when they lose their rookie quarterback to a backup with Gardner Minshew, and with Minshew having to step in there, he's actually done a pretty good job leading this team. Yeah. And yes, he's had some woes with the picks, but his touchdowns have been strong, and his touchdowns have come in big moments for this team.
Yes.
So I'm going to give the Colts the benefit of the doubt here. They got to win this game. They got to beat Tennessee. Tennessee's going nowhere. And for the Colts, you're fighting for your playoff lives. You've been in this entire mix the whole season, really, so far. Now that you're in a playoff spot and that Buffalo was out, if you want to knock Buffalo out of the playoff picture, you got to win this game.
Yeah.
And again, I think this Colts team is going to win this game, and they're going to win based off their offense, but their defense. And if they get pressure to Will Levis and they force consistent turnovers against Tennessee, then the Colts are going to win this game. And again, they've had some heartbreaking losses, but they've played full games every single year. And it finally paid off last week. And for this week, it has to pay off again.
Yeah.
And they're kind of, again, they're not in the same exact spot as Pittsburgh. The Colts are more deserving of a playoff spot than the Steelers are, in my opinion. But at the same exact time, both of these teams, whether you like it or not, are fighting for their playoff lives for the rest of the season with a team like Buffalo, who's really, really struggling. Yep. So this is just as much of a must-win for Pittsburgh as it is for Indianapolis. So give me the Colts.
Yes, I'm gonna take the Colts in this one as well. I have a weird feeling this is the breakout week for Jonathan Taylor against this weak Titans team. The defense hasn't looked that good. Pittman will have a good week. Look, this is like you said, a huge game for them. And keep in mind, they have a playoff spot right now, and if they lose this game, suddenly the Titans are a game behind them. Like, this is huge. You cannot let the Titans beat you in this game.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that scares me with the Titans is, I don't know if you watched any of the game last week, but Derrick Henry finally woke up last week. He had 2 touchdowns. He looked good. So that's a little scary. Seeing Derrick Henry wake up. Look, I don't think he's gonna be able to lead them to a win, because in my opinion, he's really the main weapon right now. Because yes, they have DeAndre Hopkins. Please don't jump on me for that, guys, when you see this video get uploaded, if you are a Titans fan. But DeAndre Hopkins has not done that much this year. He really has not.
He's been in the ultimate regression stage. And not just that, Jason. The reason why Derrick Henry played so good last week is because the Titans beat the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, he's been good in some other games, but he's been absent most of the time this year. And when he's playing good against a team like Pittsburgh, didn't win the game. If it happened, and honestly, Pittsburgh and Indy are sort of, like I said, in this similar spot. They really are in this similar spot. I just don't see Derrick Henry winning this game for Tennessee against Indianapolis if he couldn't do it versus Pittsburgh to begin with.
Yeah, we're in the DeAndre Hopkins post enhancement era. So yeah, Colts win this game. I think. I think it will be a bit of. I don't think it will be an amazing game, but I think Gardner Minshew will have a pretty good showing in this one. We move into the last 1:00 window game. I think this game is gonna be so bad, especially with how bad teams have looked. We don't gotta say too much on this one. Chargers versus Patriots. What do you got?
Oh goodness, that's a game this week? Are you kidding me? I mean, look, both defenses suck, but the Patriots are an absolute laughingstock. And the Chargers could put up 20 points and probably win this game. So, I mean, you can choose this game in your sleep knowing that the Chargers are going to win. The Patriots are just so bad. And
let's be honest, the Chargers haven't been much better.
They haven't been much better, but you're comparing, twigs to broken sticks over here. You're not comparing much, Jason. You're comparing crap and more crap. And no, I mean, you are. And look, I mean, the Chargers haven't been much better either. The Chargers are putting up points.
Yeah,
the Patriots can barely score 10 points. They put up 7 against the Giants and lost 10-7 at MetLife Stadium. So come on, who's kidding who? Yeah. The Chargers are going to win this game easily. It's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be fun. It's going to be an awful game. And honestly, if you're going to have diarrhea during the Falcons-Jets, you're probably going to have diarrhea and vomit for this game with how bad it's going to be. So, look, I mean, go with the Chargers, but please your stomach at the same time.
Yeah, if you're a fan of either of these teams, by the end of this one, you might need to be in a psych ward. This one might drive you insane.
Oh,
this
my
game
goodness
might
gracious.
drive you mental. This is going to be really ugly. Look, I have a weird feeling against this Patriots team. I think 2 or 3 touchdowns. I think it's a monster week for Keenan Allen. He had a really bad last couple weeks with dropping passes and hurting the team a little bit. I think he bounces back against the Patriots. I think they absolutely steamroll the Patriots. Look, here's the thing. It's a battle of a bad defense against a bad quarterback. So, which outweighs the other? The bad quarterback or the bad defense? We got to see. That's going to be the thing.
And honestly, look, I mean, again, the Chargers defense is not good. And Mac Jones is awful.
Yeah.
He
might be the guy that could make them look good.
I mean, Mac Jones can make the Chargers look like the steel curtain. That's how bad Mac Jones is. Yeah. And, Bailey Zappi wasn't much better. He was all right, but he wasn't much better versus the Giants. Honestly, I don't think Mac Jones is going to start in this game.
Really?
I don't know. I mean, he could.
They're another team where you just don't know who the quarterback's going to be.
You don't know who the quarterback is. And Mac Jones had 2 picks in the first half, got benched for Zappi, and the Patriots still lost. Mac Jones just stinks. And honestly, look, I mean, Zappi could start, but that's still not going to make a difference. Patriots are an absolute train wreck.
Yeah. Chargers, as crazy as it sounds, Chargers dominate this game. Which you wouldn't think you'd say the Chargers are going to dominate the game, but I think so in this one. We move in to the first 4 or 5 game. This is the last one before we're going to take quickly restart the call. Another ugly game. Panthers versus Buccaneers.
Why does the NFL always do this to us? Look, I mean, I get it. Division rivals have to play each other, and bad teams will eventually play bad teams, and you'll have bad matchups. Maybe it's me. Maybe I have short-term memory loss, but every week this season, half of these matchups are some of the worst matchups known to mankind.
Yeah.
And if Tampa Bay doesn't win this game, Baker Mayfield
You
should
need a
just
new quarterback. Yeah.
I mean, Baker Mayfield should just retire, quit, become a nurse, or do something else with his life.
Yeah,
I
if they
mean,
don't win this game, he was recently at the thing. He signed a 2-day contract with them just for a YouTube video. Maybe they bring in Mr. Beast if Baker Mayfield can't win this game.
you're gonna have to bring in Mr. Beast or King Kong for all you care to take over as quarterback. Because this guy is just awful. And look, he was good for a short period, but like I said before, I don't trust him with my car. I don't trust him to win a game. I wouldn't trust him cooking food. That's how bad this guy
Yeah.
is. So look, if they don't win this game, that's problematic.
Yeah.
Look, I I can't confidently choose a team here. I can't. I really, really can't confidently choose a team.
Yeah.
But to spice things up and to make things interesting and even crazy, I'm going to go with the Panthers.
Wow.
And I'm saying this in spite of Baker Mayfield. Look, they just fired Frank Reich, Carolina. They're going to have the interim head coach. They're 1-10. They stink. They're a mess. They're awful. They somehow beat the Texans. But besides that barely win versus the Texans, they still have been awful. And with Tampa Bay slipping and Baker being so bad and blowing game after game, somehow, I don't know how, but somehow, by a stroke of God's touch, the Carolina Panthers are going to beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't know how it's going to happen, but it's going to happen.
Yeah. I'm actually going to go with the Panthers in this game too. That's just how bad the Buccaneers have been. This is one of those games, Alex, if you're playing a Madden franchise mode and you get into that schedule, this is one of those games where you click simulate on.
Yeah.
It's just that bad. I don't think this game is going to be, I really have a weird feeling this could be like a 13-10 game, just like the game we just saw last night.
It could be a 10-7 game like it was between the Giants and Patriots, or it could be a 7-3 game for all we know.
Yeah.
It's not going to be good, but look, this could be completely wrong, and I'm willing to strike out on this one because of how bad Baker is.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I wouldn't be shocked if Carolina wins. I'll take them this week, and if they somehow win, I don't know how they're going to win. They're going to probably win with the biggest break known to mankind,
Yep.
or the biggest botched miss, or the biggest Baker pick, or something like that. But Carolina somehow is going to win this game. Maybe the script writers will give it to them. I have no idea. But Carolina somehow is going to win this game.
Yeah. Yeah, just an ugly game. I think it'll be a low-scoring game. Sadly, this is in the 4 o'clock window, so there's not a lot of games. This was a brutal decision by the NFL. So it's just one of those games where you got to put up with it or not watch.
And the thing is, Carolina's wasn't going to be good this year.
Yeah.
And you weren't sure what you were getting with Tampa Bay.
That was a bad decision to put them in a window with 3 games.
Why? 4:05 in Tampa Bay. This should be a 1 o'clock game. And honestly, whether you thought the Broncos were going to be good or not this year, you could have had Texans Broncos in Denver to replace it.
Yes. So yeah, weird decision. Not really looking forward to this game. But like we said, Panthers take this one. So the next game I want to move into is one of the 2 4:25 games, a game that's going to be really fun and exciting, Alex. We got the Eagles home against the 49ers. What do you got on this one?
Well, Jason, we finally have a good game for once in our lives. And if it's going to be like the Bills and Eagles game last week, then this is going to be another dandy of a matchup. But here's the deal. Philadelphia is 10-1 for a reason. They've been great at home, and they had a great comeback to beat Buffalo. I think they're going to beat San Francisco. I think the Eagles are the best team in football. Jalen Hurts is playing great. This offense is on fire. This defense has been shaky, yes, but the special teams and Jake Elliott's been able to save the day and force overtimes and win games and be a big factor in winning some of these games. So I think it's all Eagles. Now, look, San Fran's good. McCaffrey is going to play great. So is Kittle, Ayuk, Brock Purdy, Deebo Samuel. This is going to be a real offensive shootout. I think we're going to get a similar game we saw versus Buffalo, where both of these teams could put up 30 points and all go back and forth. Honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if we see overtime in Philadelphia
Yeah.
for a second straight week. But regardless of how it ends, who, scores 6 points more or 6 points less or whatever, I think Philadelphia wins. I think the Eagles will win this game. I think they'll win in regulation. I wouldn't be shocked if it went to overtime. But with how good this Eagles offense has been, and again, they had the one loss to the Jets, but after that, they have been on fire and they've been on a roll. They've been unstoppable, whether at home or on the road. So give me the Eagles. They're going to get to 11-1. And honestly, they're going to take one step even further to be the 1 seed in the upcoming playoffs.
I got the Eagles in this one as well. Oh, Inwood, I think it's gonna be a really, really fun game. As you said, I think their teams will put up in the 30 range. These
Oh, yeah.
offenses are just so dominant, so good.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think it's just overall gonna be a really, really fun game. Definite shootout between the two teams. Um, Overtime's possible. It really is. I wouldn't be shocked either. But look, I just overall the Niners have been great. But these last couple weeks, I've been much more impressed with the Eagles than Niners. Not to say the Niners haven't been good, but the Eagles have just been more impressive.
Oh,
The
yeah.
Eagles battling to come back and win that game against the Bills at the end there, and then winning in overtime. Just overall, man, they look good. They really do. Um, I'm gonna say it now, and it's a way too early Super Bowl prediction. I would not be surprised if we get a Ravens versus Eagles Super Bowl this year.
I mean, it's possible. I mean, we could have two birds fighting against each other. Who
Yeah.
knows? But look, I mean, it is going to be a good game this weekend. And what's so intriguing about Philly is that they've trailed at halftime for 3 straight games and they've won all three.
Yep.
So they've been able to, come back when they're down. And honestly, if San Fran has a good start, you can't count out this Eagles team, especially at home. So
Yeah.
regardless of the circumstances, Jalen Hurts is going to go off. A.J. Brown's been the best receiver in football this year. I mean, those long stride passes that Hurts
Oh
made
my
for the
God, I know.
touchdown, especially the one on third down to Zacchaeus for 23 yards or whatever
Yeah.
it was. I mean, Hurts is just showing off his strength with his passing game, and also even with a banged up knee, he's running all over the place.
I
He
know.
scored a
I know.
rushing touchdown to win the game. So he's been great. The push has been phenomenal. I think the Eagles keep it going. They're going to get win number 11 this year.
Yeah. I will say this is a very important game for the Niners to pick up ground on the
Oh, yeah, for
Seahawks.
sure.
So yeah, overall, very fun game. Probably besides that Broncos Texans game, probably like the only two incredibly exciting games of the week so far. We move in though to the last 425 game. We got Browns versus Rams. What do you got on this one?
Look, this one's going to be interesting. It's not going to be as good as Niners and Eagles, but both teams are fighting for the playoff lives. Cleveland had a tough loss to Denver. What are they, 7-4 now? So they're
Yeah.
trying to look for a bounce back. And for the Rams, they've got life. And Matthew Stafford's playing good. And this Rams offense is coming to life yet again. So this is a big game for both teams. Give me the Rams, though, with how good the offense has been.
Yeah.
And look, Miles Garrett's having a great year. This defense is solid, but the Browns are a mess on offense, and you
Yeah.
saw it in Denver last week, especially. So give me the Rams. They're coming off a big win. And if Seattle loses, which we think is going to happen, the Rams are going to be more determined to win this game,
Yes.
especially since it's at home in Los Angeles. So give me the Rams. I think they'll take care of business. Matt Stafford will have a great day. The offense will be strong. And for this Rams team, like the Packers, they're looking for a big booster to get them even more in playoff contention. And the Rams have a gift to do it this week versus Cleveland.
Yeah. I'm gonna go Rams in this one as well. As you said, the offense is a mess for the Browns. The only thing really going amazing for them is the defense. Look, the quarterback situation is a mess. Amari Cooper got banged up last week. I don't know if you saw that dirty hit on him that was like really should have been more, to be honest. I think that guy, whoever threw that, should have been out of the game, to be totally honest. It was pretty rough hit on him, I'm gonna be honest. But yeah, I just overall they're a mess. Rams look good. They got their elite rookie running back, Kyron Williams, back from injury, and he had almost 200 scrimmage yards and 2 touchdowns last week. That kid is incredible. I mean, think about it. If you could get Tutu Atwell going again, you get Puka Nacua going again because he's really died down since Cup came back. You could get Cup going and healthy. It seems like Cup's a little banged up again. That's the story of Cooper Cup's career. And then you have Kyron Williams and Matthew Stafford playing good and Higbee. That's a really good offense. That really is. So this Rams team could suddenly get dangerous. They really could. And to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if they make a push towards the postseason. I'm not saying they're going to get in there, but I think they're going to make it interesting.
Well, look, I mean, again, if this Rams team is going to be a legitimate playoff contender or just to make the postseason, you got to win games like this against another team that's also in the mix and also trying to fight their lives. But the Rams, there's more at stake for them. Now, sure, Pittsburgh's right behind them, and Cleveland just beat Pittsburgh recently, and that was big for the Browns. They have the tiebreaker. But the Rams got to win this game. And for the Rams, this is a game where if Seattle continues to slide, the momentum goes in your favor even more.
Yeah.
So if Seattle continues to struggle, the Rams keep winning. They have the season sweep over Seattle. Yep. They have the tiebreaker easily. I mean, this is a game where the Rams can prove what they're really about and whether or not they are legitimate enough to turn things around and make a postseason run. I think they'll do that this week.
Yeah.
If Cup is fully healthy or not, to Atwell,
your Puka Nacua thing just cut out. I missed what you said about Puka Nacua. If he gets involved, is it something like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, exactly. So look, I mean, this Rams offense has to build up their dominating win versus Arizona. Now, again, it was Arizona, got it, but they can do it versus Cleveland. And if they do it with Green Bay chasing with them as well for those spots with Minnesota and Seattle, I think the Rams get it. They're going to build off a strong performance last week.
Yeah, I completely agree. Definitely going to take the Rams in this one. I just think that offense is significantly better shape right now than that Browns offense. It's just a mess over there. It really is. It's the story of the Browns. You always expect something and it ends up really not going as planned. So we'll see. For some reason the Browns occasionally figure out ways to pull out wins when you doubt them, and I mean anything could happen, but I'm going with the Rams. I think the Rams could have a very good offensive week if they do win this game. The Browns need their defense to really step up, but yeah, Rams in this one. We move into Sunday Night Football. I'm sure you know where we're going with this one. I'm really, really sorry that we have to cover this game for your sake, Alex. We got the Chiefs Packers.
Look, I am surprised but thrilled with how good they played on Thanksgiving. Jordan Love blew me away. It was remarkable how good he played, how strong the offense was, and how they went into Detroit, took care of business, and beat the crap out of them on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Kansas City's a lot different, but at the same time, look, I've been 3 of the 4 weeks I've chosen the opposing team to win the game, and the Packers have won. Kansas City is the favorite. I'll go with Kansas City. Hopefully, the same thing happens again.
If that happens, that'll be incredible.
That would be amazing, and I'll be so thrilled. But Packers have a shot here. Seriously, they do.
No, I'm not really that impressed with the Chiefs this year. I really am not.
No, and again, you shouldn't be, because the reason why Denver is now back in the playoff picture is because they beat Kansas City to turn their season around. And they barely beat the Raiders last week. They're barely winning games. They blew the game to Philadelphia. The receiving core has been weak. Marquez Valdes-Scantling, a former Packer, dropped that big touchdown that would have won the game for KC versus Philly. Look, Kansas City's just not that good this year, and their defense hasn't been great. Now, the problem for the Packers is that they're going to Arrowhead, and sure, that's going to be a problem. That's going to be a real challenge, and last year they played at Arrowhead, and that wasn't pretty. But with all that in mind, with the Packers going on the road, stealing a win last week, and they've stolen road games throughout the year so far, Why couldn't they do it again?
Yeah.
For the sake of the segment and for the record, Kansas City's going to win this game. I think they'll win it by 3 to 7 points. Green Bay's going to put up a great fight, but I think KC will take it away because of how good they are at home. Besides the loss to Philadelphia, they're just a better home team.
Yes.
And look, I mean, sure, they lost to Detroit and Philly at home, but Kansas City is a team that also will come back after a tough loss. And they barely beat the Raiders, but they still came back and won the game this past week. So I think they'll build something off of that and they'll beat Green Bay. But I say that in the sense, hoping that the Packers win 4 of the last 5, knowing that I've chosen the opposing team in every single game.
If the Packers win this game, by the way, in Lambeau, that would be incredible.
Oh, it'd be great. It'd be awesome.
Packers beat Jordan Love in Lambeau beats the Chiefs. The headlines on that would be incredible.
That would be awesome. And look, again, hopefully they win. Hopefully Jordan Love turns it around. Hopefully he keeps it going because against the Chargers, he was phenomenal. Career day for him. He played great versus Detroit. He really played a really strong game. Really had no slip-ups at all. He played a really, really perfect game versus Detroit. And look, it's going to be hard to do it against Kansas City. But if he can do it again, that'll be great. And with how good he's playing, I wouldn't be shocked if he does. And Christian Watson's getting more involved. He's found Christian Watson in the end zone the past 2 straight games. So if he starts to build that trust even more with him on top of Romeo Doubs and Jalen Reed, the Packers are going to have a great day in the passing game, and Jordan Love is going to be successful yet again.
Yeah,
hopefully Green Bay wins, and hopefully Love keeps it going. We'll see.
The one thing that sucks for you guys is your running back situation. It is such a mess, the running back situation for the Packers.
Well, that, and also the fact that Aaron Jones can't stay healthy, but A.J. Dillon is still playing good, and he's doing the best he can. So,
but he's not that elite guy who's going to be able to do everything.
He's not. Yeah. He's not, but he's solid enough that he'll put up strong numbers. And honestly, this is what the Packers offense really is all about. They're about the passing game. They shouldn't have to be about the running game. And when you have Dillon put up, solid numbers enough, and the passing game does much of the work, that's what Green Bay Packers football is, and that's how it should be. Yeah. And the fact that that's going right so far these past couple of weeks, I'm not complaining. And hopefully that happens again against Kansas City.
Yeah, it's a shame for the Packers before we move on from this is they're one of those teams along with the Giants and a few other teams in there. Even the Bengals with that one game where Tyler Boyd dropped that wide open pass in the end zone. They're one of those teams, and this is on Jordan Love, where they could have had a few games go very differently in their season.
Oh, I know.
Their season would look a lot different. The Giants could have beat the Bills and the Jets. The Bengals could have won that game against the Texans. You guys had the freaking game against the Raiders. I believe. Did you guys lose that game to the Falcons earlier in the season?
Yeah, well, look, I mean, again, Green Bay, this Packers team should have beaten the Falcons, the Raiders, and the Broncos, and even the Steelers. They should have 3 or 4 more wins than they have. But you know what? Certain timing happens for a reason, and if they can pull it off in this, final stretch of the year, and they find a way to get in the playoffs as a wild card, and let's say they somehow win a round, that's a winning season and a successful year for the Packers.
Look, it could be a learning thing for Jordan Love. He learned from those mistakes, and he's been much better these last few weeks. He hasn't been perfect, but he's been much better. So I give him a lot of credit. He's turned it around from a few weeks ago when you were absolutely crapping on him. So,
yeah, you're right. No, yeah.
But yeah, look, I'm going to go with the Chiefs in this game, but I actually will say it. I'm not going to be surprised if you guys pull off the win. So we'll see. I actually think it'll be a pretty fun Sunday night football game, though.
Yep.
We move into Monday Night Football. Think we know where this one's going, especially at the last week's offensive performance. We got the Bengals, Jaguars. What do you got?
Oh, my goodness gracious.
Dude, it sucks because that would have been such a good game.
It would have, but Burrow got hurt, obviously. Look, Jacksonville's going to wipe the floor with Cincinnati. I mean, there's not much to say on this one, Jay. Bengals are done. Their season's over. Burrow being out for the year, they have no hope to make the playoffs. Sure, they beat Buffalo and they won some of these games like versus San Francisco, but it's all been in vain now with Burrow being done for the year. Bengals are going to miss the playoffs. Who knows what's going to happen the rest of the year? How many games they win the rest of the season without
They might
Burrow?
not. They might not win
They
any.
yeah, they might not even win a game. Who knows? We'll see. But Jacksonville's going to cakewalk, steamroll through them, and they're coming off a big win last week, division-wise versus Houston. So they're going to feel really, really confident with that. And they got to play a Bengals team that's banged up towards the deep end and really is done for the year. So with that in mind, you choose Jacksonville in your sleep.
Yeah.
And if Jacksonville doesn't win this game, they got problems, but I think
Yeah.
they will.
Yeah. Sadly, as somebody who really loves the Bengals, I'm going Jacksonville in this one as well. These last couple weeks, Trevor Lawrence has looked really good again. Christian Kirk, dude. We've said it many times on this show. He is really amazing. He is honestly, I'd put him up there as probably one of the most underrated wide receivers in the league.
Well, sure.
He does not get enough credit for what he does. So he's good. Engram's been a little iffy this year. He hasn't really. I don't think he scored a touchdown this year. Calvin Ridley has been a massive pickup for them. He has been incredible. ETN been on and off. Has good weeks and then other weeks where he's just vanishes. But I mean that happens in the NFL. But yeah, overall I'm just, and it's not even just because of this quarterback situation, just overall in general, even before the injury to Bo, I've been more impressed with this Jaguars team. And at the start of the season, me and you constantly talked about it week after week. We never knew what we were going to get out of them, but I think we're finally getting to that point where we could say that they're a good team. They're a good team, and we're starting to figure everything out about them, and they're looking like what we kind of expected them to look like.
No, I mean, no, you're right. And look, they've had their mess ups. They've had some really bad games. A couple weeks ago, they got blown out against San Francisco. But besides that, they won five straight at one point, and they won a big divisional game last week versus Houston. So they are back on the right track. And this is a game where it's a pick me up game. It's a further boost confidence game. It's a grab another winning game,
Yeah.
build some ground on Houston even more. I think they're going to do it. And look, they shouldn't lose this game. They're going to win this game in convincing fashion. And honestly, this could be so lopsided that the Jaguars could win by 10, 15, 20 points.
Yeah. Look.
Who knows, who,
Yeah.
who knows what the score is going to be? But in general, I mean, Jacksonville's going to kill them.
No, I completely
So,
agree. Look, this isn't, and I'll say this here for everyone, in my honest opinion. I'm never gonna sit here on this show and lie and be like, this is a great week of football, blah blah blah. This really is not an amazing week of football. There's only 2 or 3 games that really, really stand out that could be good games. So I mean, look, with expectations going into the season, you would have thought the Lions and Saints would have been good. Um, let's think here. You would have thought the Chiefs and Packers would have been. I mean, it's gonna be good, but you would have thought it would have been even better. You thought the Packers would be a little better. I think everyone had a little bit of higher expectations for Jordan Love. I don't think people expected him to be great, but I think they thought it would be a little better than it's been so far, at least. Everyone thought the Bengals were gonna steamroll that division. So we thought that game was going to be better. We thought the Commanders were going to be decent. They've just collapsed miserably. The Seahawks are starting to collapse. So, like, it's weird. We thought the Broncos would suck. The Texans would be a little better than last year, but not amazing. So we're in a weird, it sucks because you look at it and prior, you would have thought this would be an amazing week of football with some of these games. So yeah, it's kind of rough, but as I'm gonna keep reiterating every week, that we're in that stage of the season. While it might not be the prettiest games, we're at the stage of it's got big implications for the postseason.
oh, of course it
Some of
does.
these teams are trying to get in there. The Colts are trying to figure out a way to keep themselves in. Jets are trying to keep their season alive. Falcons are trying to, build a little ground on the somebody has to win division of the NFL. The Saints are trying to push themselves back into first. Lions are trying to lock up that division, especially with an embarrassing loss for the Vikings. Lions are probably, I'd say, 2 wins away from locking that division up, in my opinion. Broncos are trying to stay in the playoff mix. The Texans are, you know, so it's going to be interesting. The Rams and the Browns are, in that mix now this year. So, like, it's an interesting week. It's not the most exciting games, but if you look at the postseason possibilities, that helps a little bit. So,
Oh, yeah.
that's just my look on it. Again, not the best. We had a few weeks earlier in the season that were actually really good, but this one is certainly nowhere near it.
Look, I mean, one last thing I'll say is that, and again, maybe I could be wrong in this. Maybe I have short-term memory loss. I don't know. But I look back at the past couple of years, and even some years before COVID, there were a lot of better games between some teams week after week.
Yeah,
This year, I mean, most of the games have just been off for the majority of the
yeah,
season, week after week. And sure, there's been some good ones throughout the year, but they've only been maybe a quarter of the games that have been good compared to the 3 quarters of the other ones that have just been so
yeah,
bad. So look, I mean, you've got some big games via the implications, but the matchups themselves are just not fun to watch
yeah,
because one team is either getting railroaded or both teams absolutely stink. So it's not a good matchup and it's fun for no one to watch. So I feel like we've seen it a lot more this year than in years prior, but I could be
yeah.
wrong on that. Or maybe
No,
I just don't
I would
remember.
agree. I would agree. Look, as I said, as I just said before, I feel like keep in mind with the Jets, they thought they were gonna have Rodgers. They thought for the Bengals, Burrow was gonna be healthy this year. I
Yeah.
think for the Browns, they thought uh Watson was gonna be healthy and playing better.
Yeah.
I think the Patriots Patriots, they probably thought Mac Jones would take a little step forward.
Mm.
You thought the Chargers would be better. Uh, you thought the Steelers and Kenny Pickett would be decent. You thought
Yeah.
Derek Carr would be decent this year.
Or just healthy.
Yeah. You thought the Commanders would be good. You thought the Giants were going to be good. There's a lot of
Yeah.
teams in that mix that have
Yeah.
really just disappointed, and that's, sadly that's not the league's fault. So it's an unfortunate year when it comes to the matchups. It really is. But usually you would think, you know, they look at it and they're like, okay, we have like 2 bad games this week. Let's try to make sure we have like 4 to 5 really good ones because to make up for these 2 games that people are going to want to take a nap on.
Hmm.
So, but that didn't really happen this year just because a lot of teams ended up disappointing. So,
Right.
kind of sucks. But yeah, we'll see what happens for week 13. Getting very close to the end of the season, as crazy as it sounds. Football just flies, it really does. So, we'll see how this week goes, and some teams are looking for big wins. Thank you guys so much for watching our Week 13 NFL predictions, guys. If you are new here, drop a sub. If you liked the video, drop a like. Also, leave a comment down below with your guys' predictions for the week, guys. We want to hear your predictions and what you guys think with who's going to win some of these games. As usual, guys, we're going to be doing this through the rest of the season, guys. Every single Thursday, a new one will be posted. So I hope you guys are enjoying them. And I appreciate you guys so much. You guys mean a ton to me. Peace out, everyone.